Greetings and welcome to the People's Bebop. On today's session, we are going to be talking to two very lovely people, Ray Valentine and Morgan Hale. We're going to be talking about the time that they spent at the Standing Rock protest of the Dakota Access Pipeline.
And here we go.
Other than the obvious danger of the police being there, trying to actively get you guys to remove your posts, was there any other danger that you guys really found to be there?
I mean, if there could have been under, I think, different community circumstances, we were really blessed to have the support of the entire world, and in camp, no one went without anything ever, at all. And on top of that, everyone was really close and worked together. You know, even when the weather got cold, it got down to negative 53 degrees. It would be like whiteout blizzards in the middle of the night. Everyone's shut up in your homes. You've got women, children, and elders. But then you've also got the people who are putting on the extra layers and putting on the ski mask and grabbing their flashlight and chopping wood and walking around in the middle of the night. We had rounds going, you know, all through the night. To check door to door and just check on people, make sure that they're doing okay, see if they need anything. You know, there were a couple of single mothers in camp, and so there were several, like a whole group designated just for this job that volunteered to do so, to go and check on these people and make sure that they had things that they needed. And then, I mean, danger-wise, besides the police, I mean, at one point, Dapple was riding their snowmobiles through camp in the middle of the night. I would say them.
Honestly, for the conditions that we were put under and the things that we were put through in that place, like, it's phenomenal that no one died. No, not a single person out of. How many people came through there in general? Like tens of thousands?
There was an older gentleman that had a heart attack at the casino, but
that wasn't our fault.
And like that's,
but the fact that we were sprayed in those like sub-zero weather with hoses and still no one died of hypothermia, and still no one giving credit to especially the H20 Sacoan medic crew saved lives out there. Like we had dedicated, and we had a medic council, and that was separate out of the Standing Rock. Like out of the movement itself, it was a separate council that
just there to make sure that the humans
were taken care of. Exactly. There was a layer of doctors. There was a layer of nurses. There was a layer of herbalists. And there was a layer of homeopaths, and then even further down the subculture, there was masseuse therapists, there was energy therapists, there was an entire council of healers there that dedicated themselves to making sure that the people were all right. And honestly, again, it was one of those phenomenal moments. Like when I first got there, and I got to see, as an herbalist, to see the amount of herbs sent from all over the world. Sent from every corner of the planet. We had herbs and backstock of like medical supplies. It was beautiful.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Being at camp was actually healing people. Like it went beyond to one of the veterans who worked a lot with uranium and had a skin cancer situation. There were salves that were coming in from everywhere that had all of these different things in it. One of them in particular, a woman had given me because Spirit had been scalded and the flesh was falling off of her face from a 3rd-degree burn. And she handed me this salve. You can't even, there's no scar, you can't even tell that was a thing.
I wouldn't have guessed that was a,
And after she was done using it, I had gifted this to my veteran friend, and he started using it, and it literally was pulling the tumors out of his skin. Literally. We were not just... we weren't just surviving at Standing Rock, and we weren't just trying to protect the water. We were also thriving and healing generations and generations and generations of trauma. Just, you know, the way that everyone had gathered and the intentions and the amount of prayer and ceremony that was going on. It's just, if anyone ever questioned the power of prayer to move things forward swiftly, I mean, It's
So
just,
it was inside of the community. There was a sort of a culture of healing.
Mm-hmm.
Is just as much as there was a culture of like we're here to get like a certain thing done. Like there's also like a culture of like we're also here to take care of each other. In terms of the community size, I know of course it varied over a long time, but how big would you say in numbers to your estimation that it got?
Sacred Stone was anywhere between 250 and 700.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember counting heads in the kitchen once and getting up to some around like 600 at some point. And then H20 was the big camp. That was the
overflow.
That was the well-known overflowing, like publicized.
Yeah, the one with all the pictures.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
A lot of people probably saw in that
Yeah.
stream of information that we were talking about.
Yeah, that was the big camp. I honestly, tens of thousands. Because throughout periodically, like, I can't really say.
I'd say at the lowest it was probably right around 1,500, 2,000.
Wow.
And at the maximum, 14,000, I think, at one point when the veterans were here. It was between
I remember
14
there
and
was
18,000.
Yeah, because I remember Ochete, I remember them bracing for the veterans and whatnot for that. And earlier in the year, they like Ochete was a city for like that was a
That's a lot of people, and it takes a lot of organization to make that happen. Which
Mm-hmm.
is it's stunning, and I don't know what else to say about it. It's really like a monumentous like feat of human engineering. Like these people managed to get supplies for upwards of 7,000 people into essentially what's like the middle of nowhere, because
and it was overflowing. A lot of the supplies were getting sent out to other reservations to share because we had so much.
Wow.
So other reservations across the nation were
actually benefiting from the community.
The whole
Wow.
Yeah. And there was actually a couple times where produce, where we had we were just like, we're not going to eat all these squashes or all these potatoes. We would go through the neighborhood delivering like food boxes, basically door to door food boxes.
Wow.
Like because of overflow, and again also because we didn't have the biggest like refrigeration system, except for the place we were at itself. But like the place we were at was a freezer. You know what I mean? So like perishable goods like that didn't last very long.
When fresh produce freezes, it's pretty much
toast. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
At least not viable for
exactly.
For
so we would deliver food like that, and so.
How did the community respond to the giant amount of people who were, like kind of in the area? Like,
it varied.
Because
there were some people that were being paid by the tribal council to create division, and the tribal council several members had been paid by the Dakota Access Pipeline. So there was division within the community, but generally, from what I directly experienced, my friend Swan went around to get a petition to reverse the tribe's decision to remove the camps, and so I rode around with her, and on the decision to remove the tribes, there were 13 votes total. In 30 minutes driving around the Cannonball community and going door to door, we had 78 signatures of community members that were supporting the camps and didn't want us to go anywhere. So there was just community support. It depends on who you were hanging out with, because there were those that were authentic, and then there were those that saw some money flash in front of them and betrayed their people.
How big of a role did race relations play within the camp between white people and Native Americans?
Okay, I really, honestly, this one hit some raw points, and this might not sound like the nicest of things, but it was so therapeutic for some people to interact like that on both ends, the race relations in that camp got interesting, because there was actually some moments of, I mean, it's not reverse racism, it's still racism, but like, there was an
educational
gap that got filled.
Yeah, there was an
quickly.
educational gap that got pretty filled pretty fast, and it had to be done with kind of a stern hand with a lot of the people there. It was decolonization, you know, and we had to explain that pain to a lot of people that never had experienced anything like that.
Considered any other point of view than themselves.
And like, I had to explain to quite a few people down there, like, what it meant to have like white privilege.
Mm-hmm.
And it was funny because these subjects would come up because they would be confronting me about native privilege in the camp. And this is how these subjects would come up, because as a native, and honestly I experienced it as myself, having this skin I immediately met LaDonna, the person that started all of this. I met her like a week into being there, where there was some people that literally like never got to even see her, and it was I know for a fact it's because I kind of look like some of her relatives. I've met some of her cousins and some of her relatives, and like I had felt that, where like after not even knowing her that long, I was soon like the village crier. Yeah. Which is the person that spreads the message throughout the entire village of some sort of news that needs to get, like, put out there.
Circulated.
Yeah, circulated, exactly. And that was like 2 or 3 weeks into me being there, and she didn't even, and I watched her say, like, no to a couple people that offered their services to do this. And all of those people were Caucasian, and then I literally just asked her, what do you want me to say?
Yeah.
And then she just sent me, and it was interesting to see that reversal in like classes for a minute. And
yeah, that must be really interesting.
And I felt bad because I know what the end of the stick feels like to be like discriminated against. Yeah. I understand that feeling very in-depthly as a gay, like, brown individual in a red state. And I had to hold some of my friends because I understand that it feels terrible, but it was a huge part of the growing process out there. It was a huge part of, like, I had so many people coming back from that experience, understanding a whole new level of humanity.
Wow.
You know? Like a whole new level of, like, what it is that you even put out there subconsciously.
Totally.
Like cultural appropriation on the subconscious level that you can catch yourself on. That like I said, it was decolonization.
Yeah. I really like that notion of it. And I really like what you said about how it was rough at certain points in time in order for people to kind of completely conceptualize like the reality of the situation that was happening.
Yeah. It was funny, like, the people I was talking about, like, they would make comments like, I feel like everywhere I go, people just see me as a lazy bum white kid, and, like, people think I'm just goofing around, and people think that I'm lazy and that I'm not doing anything, and that, like, this and that, and that, I don't know anything about spirituality or whatever, or, like, I don't know anything about this subject, so they just exclude me from it. And, like, I was like, that is literally what we've been dealing with for hundreds.
In society.
And that's a very soft form of that, you know?
Totally.
Like, in all honesty, it's a softer form of that, but they still needed to experience that.
I think what I loved the most about it was that it was also... It's not like anyone was intentionally being racist.
No.
You know, no. and or intentionally discriminating. But you know, for example, it was important to have those that were spreading messages and those that were giving direction and passing the message along not be white people, because we are trying to indigenize things. You know, that it is important. There were white people that did the thing too, yes. Yeah. But it was also important to have that switch
That sort of representation.
Yeah, of the microphone's not white right now, you guys, and you should still give it exactly as much weight as if it were, because that's where the message comes from. And the way that you can help teach that is really by funneling all of those messages into a non-white microphone. Now, people did take it the wrong way several times, and, you know, some people got their feelers a little hurt, but it wasn't the intention, you know. No one said, you can't spread this message because you're white. It's because I would rather have
it would just
a native spreading this particular message. You're welcome to go help. No one's going to stop you, but this is the one that I'm going to say. This is, you know, this person has my words.
Yeah.
You know, that was kind of a really big deal. And what was also fascinating for me is it wasn't just a conscious shift in observation of racism and experiencing what that means, but also sexism. Because culturally, the Lakota is matriarchy, you know, and so it was really fascinating to see that happen, like, actively, because not only did it transform people's understanding of what a matriarchy is, because it's not the woman is the give all say so of all of the things, but it is if you've got a question and you need guidance and you need direction, or we want to figure out which direction we're steering the ship, we ask the women first. If the women have something to speak up about and have something that's on their minds and on their hearts, it gets addressed, because the battle is not lost until the women's hearts are on the ground. And that was a very fascinating thing to be able to find. It taught me more about feminism, like, and not feminism in the aspect of, you know, like, man-hating, but like as in being a woman and understanding finally that there is no better, or it's not even really equal. Equal is a terrible word to use, because there's just there's two responsibilities of each given energy. Like, they're different responsibilities entirely, because some people are better at things than others.
Well, it's like it's like to say that one human body, when there's more than one, can handle the whole array, a spectrum of problems as they come, is like, it's such a ludicrous statement. But it'd be like, hey, if we use all the tools in the basket, we can fix all the things.
Exactly like that. And then you had Two-Spirit Camp, and you had it changed the whole I saw some, and
a lot of shifty paradigms, I imagine.
I saw some people that were very homophobic show up at camp, spend about a week there, and had their minds blown.
Awesome.
And it was just it was incredible to see. Just, I hate calling it decolonization anymore, because it's literally indigenization. It goes beyond decolonization. No one's even bothering to unprogram. We're just like, no, actually, here, boom, boom, give you a nudge. Now you get it.
Totally. I like the whole idea that the community was there, not mindlessly droning, but like actively participating and even changing. I really like that. And what you guys were saying earlier about the nature of prayer being so prevalent on the camp, like, that is something that I feel our community, that is community at large, it's not really valued that much. And so it's refreshing to hear of something that's painted in such a violent light to the regular citizen, to the civilian. To know that it was really built on a platform of like prayer, inclusion, and like love. Yeah, like everybody was there for the purpose of love. Then they all loved each other while they were there. That's wonderful. That's wonderful to me. So, what would you say was the best part of the highlight of your experience as you were there?
That's so hard.
It was like living in an action-adventure movie.
I
How
know.
do you pick one scene?
Yeah, like, how do you choose one particular moment?
I didn't think so. I watch people do in movies, so it's just...
I know! I'm like, riding into battle, listening to A Tribe Called Red on a snowmobile with a crazy... Like, there's so many, like, moments that were just like...
Oh my gosh.
Phenomenal.
How
like,
intense.
The full moon, like the full moon gatherings, or like the sweat lodge, or the sacred fire. Like,
I think that if I had to really just narrow it down, I would have to lump it all together and say that the most incredible part of this experience was my takeaway. Because hindsight's 20/20, and there is no school on this earth that could even begin to touch the education and the knowledge and the experience that I was gifted there. It was like I was given the gift of being able to witness both the best and worst of humanity simultaneously. Mm-hmm. And when you like just the sight that it was able to give me, I mean, at this point, with all of the projects I'm working on moving forward, there's still people that are a little rough around the edges and difficult to deal with, and they start creating drama. And I can honestly say, if you don't have an anti-aircraft missile launcher pointed at me and my friends, I think I can probably handle anything you've got to throw. Like,
yeah. So it was almost like a sort of like a boot camp type of like crawling through the gutter type of experience. I like that it give you like this armor for like as you proceed in the future, you're going to be able to handle all types of incredibly loud in your face situations
and be able to share and disperse that knowledge with everyone.
I like how you mentioned on education. Like, I really appreciate how you mentioned that because like within the time that I was there, I played so many roles in a community, and everybody did at the same time. But like, I got to be a security guard, and I got trained as a security guard. I got trained as a midwife. I got midwife training. I have CPR training now. I also have frontline training now. I know how to install a chimney. I know how to set up like I know how to install a chimney. I know how to build a yurt. And like it was like I know how to build structures out of logs now, and I also know how to build like wagonagons out of like sticks, like structures that are like these oval structures made out of sticks that are like can house like 16 people, and it's like these. I know how to start a fire.
No matter what.
No matter what.
No matter how wet the wood is.
No matter how cold. I know how to start a fire. And like...
Not only that, but we know how to do it comfortably.
Yeah.
Like, my home, I lived in a teepee in negative 53 degrees for 6 months. Yeah. And that thing got so hot in there, you had to take your clothes off. Like, most people wouldn't believe me, but I'm so serious until the teepee flaps ripped, and then when the wind blew in from the east, there was really no breathing in that teepee.
She burned her teepee. She burned her teepee down.
I hold the record for a person who can set their home on fire and still live in it the most.
That made me so happy. She lit it on fire while she was chilling in it. Like, didn't even know.
The girl walking by the outside mentioned she needed a fire extinguisher. I'm like, what for? She's like, there's a teepee on fire. I'm like, which teepee? Yours. I look up and I'm like, oh.
That was one of my favorites.
The whole community showed up immediately.
Yeah, it was actually really awesome. I think that was like when I kind of first met you around because like I ran your teepee with a fire extinguisher, just like.
Someone got a snowmobile stuck trying to get to my teepee. Wow, and it's not trained. Damn. Oh my god, it's great.
But yeah, on the education, like I was given the opportunity, like just like I just explained just now, I got to be a fireman for like half a minute. Totally. You know what I mean? Like I got to be a security guard. I got to be like a nurse. I got to be like, you know what I mean? I also got to be a cook. I worked in the kitchen all the freaking time, and like you said, there were so many like different levels of education and experience that I don't know if I can get all of that all at once again out one place. Like,
and there's the detail of it too. Working in the kitchen, you were also learning how to eat healthy food.
Yep.
Because that was what everyone was sending.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That literally, it wasn't. We had to go make special purchases to get chips and soda.
Yeah.
It was great. It was really great.
I remember for my birthday at camp, I got 3 kinds of chips in a bowl. And like 2 different kinds of soda. We had a party. It was great.
That's
in a big bonfire. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But like, no, she's for real though. Like, and you had to learn. Oh my god, you had to learn how to cook some weird stuff too, like beaver, horse,
I had
like,
moose for the very
moose.
first time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, moose, buffalo, lots and lots of deer.
One of the deer we ate, the res dogs took down right outside the front door of my teepee. I wake up and I hear this awkward screaming noise. I'm like,
that would be awful screaming. Deer are awful sounding when they're dying.
Oh yeah.
Even the dogs were getting, what did you say? Indigenized. Even the dogs of the camp were joining the coyote packs.
Wow.
And running with the coyote packs at night. And then they would kill deer and bring it back to our camp. Yeah, that is like some roots. That's some ancestral. They ran with the coyotes.
They brought food back to the camp?
Yeah, they brought
they
deer.
chased that entire deer back to camp. I had to yell to get them off.
They killed 3.
Yeah,
they killed 3 over the time that I knew about.
It's probably in response to the such communal and tribal way that you guys were living. You guys were probably all in like a really natural state of being, and so it was like a natural thing for the animals to.
It's funny that you mentioned that. A huge part of that was that the animals were learning how to trust us again. I had deer through the camp. There was horses that just wandered through the camp. There was rabbits. Wow. There was like these porcupines. Like
they were just
they were learning how to trust us again.
They were like, "Oh yeah, you guys are people."
Yeah,
well,
I remember people.
It extended past the animals in camp.
Yeah.
The buffalo.
Yeah,
I was just about to ask about that.
There were buffalo there, and there was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most incredible things that I recall was standing up on top of the hill at Sacred Stone and watching through a scope as this herd of buffalo comes plundering through the dapple camp, and literally 2 of the bulls got pissed off and started wrecking things.
Wow.
And then later on, and it was funny because like right before I'd seen this, I'd spoken with one of the elder Native women in camp. Huge inspiration for me. She, very grounding woman. Her name is Cheryl Angel.
I love Cheryl Angel.
And she had gone down, and the way that she explained it to me, if I can remember, she was going to ask the buffalo to go into the dapple camp and do their part because the animals were there for the same reason. They all drink water too. I was standing up on top of the hill, and who was it that pointed it out? I think it was Johnny Danger, who was doing a bunch of live broadcasts, so he was constantly looking through the scope. He's like, "Oh my God, the buffalo! Watch the buffalo!"
Yeah.
And you go to look through the scope, and sure enough, the buffalo are all just pouring over the hill into the dapple camp. And then you see Dapple come in with their 4-wheelers and start, pushing them off. And there were 2 bulls that started damaging some equipment, and they shot both of them. That was their solution. They shot both of those bulls. But
talk about the easiest thing you can do.
Yeah, but it was definitely really incredible to see a Native woman very humbly sing a prayer, and then watch as an entire herd of buffalo answer that prayer.
Prayer is powerful.
It really comes down to how much prayer was in that camp. And I know there's a lot of people that don't pray. That was kind of a thing we were trying to figure out. How do we get the message across to people that this is how you can really impact things? And well, what is prayer? When you go into prayer, you're seeking that connection.
Yeah.
And when you have that connection, regardless of what you call it, the world will work with you directly, including all of the animals.
See, that is why I thoroughly appreciated the Sacred Fire as a space, because there wasn't a responsibility to go to any particular god or to any particular idol or any particular religious figure. You were talking to a fire.
Mm-hmm.
You were talking to a fire that lots of other people have prayed at.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't ask you to worship any particular way. They didn't even ask you to worship. They didn't even, it was literally speaking to it, talk to it. Like, they had fire tenders and fire keepers, and like being a fire keeper, if you had that responsibility, it was tedious, but so worth every second. Yeah, because that was just you get a couple of hours or an hour all night sometimes or whatever of just talking to your talking to your space.
Yeah. It's your own personal Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. I've always appreciated the symbolic nature of the fire. And as somebody who's always considered myself a man of science, the fireplace is where I find my pious nature.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say about prayer and the nature of science is the way I conceive myself and the way I pray is I look at it as like it's like a focused intention, and it's like when you draw like that line and when you cast that light through the shadow, it's like you are basically manifesting it because you've just decided with your being that like this is something that you want. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you want to invite this into your reality.
Yeah, you're putting smoke into the air and it's stirring stuff up.
Dropping tobacco. That was another.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. On one of the last days of camp, I thought it was beautiful. Oh my god, I don't think I'll ever get that chance to burn that much cedar ever again. But it's okay, because I was satisfied with that moment. We burned an entire, bush, entire, and, because it was the last day, we were just, singing with it. My friend Leaf was kind of crying. We were just, tossing in bundles, and, it was just bundle after bundle. We basically had a fire of cedar.
That's so cool. That must have been such a great experience. Then walking with your jacket all stankin' of that sweet little cedar smoke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was definitely hard on the eyes for half a minute, but it was...
It's smoke.
But
smoke's good for the eyes, makes them work.
How do you view police in places that are not where you were in direct standoff? How do you guys perceive officers in the civilian category of officers?
That's a really great...
That's a good... Yeah.
My personal experience, I don't know. I think that there's a small little voice that when I see a cop, I'm mentally preparing. I feel like there's definitely a visual response of just immediately mentally preparing, but part of that mental preparation involves reminding myself that. One, they have no jurisdiction over me. They may not know that, but I am more than happy to educate them. I think that the reason why there's definitely a reaction I have when I see them, but I think the reason it's not more negative is because I came out of Standing Rock so much more educated about my own personal inalienable rights and what the court systems, the judicial systems, and the police themselves are actually allowed to do. I'm also aware that they're not aware of that at all. But that's where I kind of just relax a little bit and remind myself that I'm a very well-spoken individual and I can find some way to get it across to them very politely that, whatever situation. I mean, it's also hard because part of the knowledge I came out with is, all of these things that they're doing, writing tickets, for example. They don't have jurisdiction to do that either. As a matter of fact, when you take a driving test, the posted speed limit signs are literally suggested speed limit signs. The reason why they get everyone with speeding tickets is because they've convinced everyone that's
a legitimate thing.
That they're allowed to do that. Right, exactly. That's somewhere along the lines they have convinced an entire nation full of people to voluntarily participate in a judicial system that was actually not built for them.
Yes.
It was built for the government, which is actually in the history books. It's written saying
very much so.
This system is literally for the government officials.
Yeah, definitely.
On the subject of police, I think how I feel about the police coming back from Standing Rock is that is a really interesting subject because within complete honesty, I've personally, I can't vouch for everyone that's come back from Standing Rock because, not everyone out there was actually on the front lines.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people that were involved with the community that didn't go out there, but I made it a part of my mission to go out there almost every time, and I have a slight amount of PTSD with the cops. I have an innate preparation and fear, like you were saying, but it's really funny. On my way back from the refugee camp in South Dakota, I was in the Red Rocks of Colorado, and we ended up deciding to kind of go through the Red Rocks of Colorado, and where later it was me and another water protector that had literally taken a rubber bullet to the face for me, like if totally off subject, but
Not on subject.
but me and her had experienced a lot together, and for us to be together at that moment, we got later pulled over and then ticketed for illegal trespassing after we just got back from a protest camp where the entire protest was like about being there and like illegal trespassing or whatever. Like it was funny when the cop confronted me about it. He was like, "You guys don't want to be considered illegal trespassers now, do ya?" And me and Irina just died. We died of laughter right in front of him. I felt kind of bad because he was probably like, "What's the joke?" Like, yeah, and I felt kind of bad, but at the same time,
what do you do but laugh? You can't even do anything but laugh.
Oh, I know.
you can't do anything but laugh.
There's no other reaction anymore.
It's ridiculous.
Laughter's the only medicine that helps.
I had noticed within my own personal being, I was terrified of even just that small interaction.
Yeah.
And I hate to sound so blunt about it, but like, I was scared. I was scared even though it was just a ticket. It was just a ticket for going on the Red Rocks. Like, every moment that I was like standing there with him, there was a part of me that was scared and wanted to move away, and then there was this other half of me that wanted to be an agitator again, like that camp, that wanted to provoke my rights as a civil being and not in a civil way.
Yeah.
Invoke in a provocative manner.
Yes, exactly. And I had to hold myself back from both of those options. I just kind of avoided both options and decided to accept the ticket, give my name, and just stay quiet and just like accept the situation. I let my friend Irina talk for me because I was so uncomfortable by the situation that I didn't really know how to talk.
Yeah.
I was like, when he was telling us to get down from the Red Rocks, like it was weird. Like, he was way far away from me, and I had to go back up the hill to get my bag. And every time I would go back up the hill or go a little bit further, he would yell at me to go back down the hill, and I saw myself react where I got really scared, and I cringed up, and I was like, oh, don't go any further. Like, move, he said, move back, was exactly what they said to us on the front line, and it triggered me, where I clinched up, and I stayed exactly where I was on the hill for a minute, and then I was like, wait a minute, he's way over there, and Irina was my friend. She was up at the top just yelling at me like, ignore him, get up here, get this purse.
Good girl, Irina.
She's yelling at me like, get over here, get your bag. I'm not taking it down with you. I have a dog with me, and this is a steep hill. So she was like, I'm not trying to carry all this. Yeah. Like, she was like, get up here, and like he was telling me to move back, but it was I saw a physical reaction.
It was emotionally like,
I saw a physical trigger that I didn't even know I had. Wow. And so my interaction with the cops is cautious, to say the least, nowadays.
Now that we've kind of touched on the subject of the front line, would you guys be comfortable with telling me like a story or sharing with me your experiences of what that was like?
Oh, we were totally having a discussion about this last night. As a matter of fact, Ray said it really, really well. There were, when going to the front lines, you would almost go as different people, at different times. There were different things that were called for.
That's what war paint is all about.
Exactly, and there were different modes that we would go in.
Like I was mentioning that I had three primary states that I was in, and one was the agitator. The I'm gonna get up in the cops' face, and I'm gonna provoke some stuff.
I'm gonna say some words because
I'm gonna say some words, exactly.
Yeah.
Or the priestess, I would go as someone in prayer, just with my smudge, just with my abalone shell and my sage, just in prayer, not talking, I'm not provoking, I'm just there in prayer. I'm just there to pray for the people, I'm there to pray for the water, I'm there to pray for the animal nation, the insect nation, every fathom of life that I can within those moments.
Yeah.
And then there was the medic. That was the most part. For the most part, I was on the front lines as the medic. And that was a whole different mind space. You're not even on the front lines as a medic. You're not even there. You're looking at the next person.
Yeah.
It's not, you don't care about the chaos around you. You don't care that someone just dropped a tear gas, like a gas canister right next to you. You need to get through that cloud, and you need to pick that person up, and you need to carry them out of this because they need it more than you. And it was like tunnel vision. You need to get this tunnel vision of just like, whew, next mission, on to the next mission, found this person, apply said healing of whatever is necessary, whether that be milk and magnesium or a trauma pack or like anything really at that moment, like or a ga or anything. It was just mission. This is what's in front of me. This is what needs to get done. On to next mission. That's and it was a priority list. And so yeah, there was different beings out there. Like,
I think one of the most prominent actions in my mind is one of the latest ones where we hiked for 3 miles across the frozen river to go to the drill pad.
Yeah, directly to.
Exactly, it sounded something like that. We had a group. There was, easily I think 100, 120 or so.
Yeah. That was a beautiful, honestly, that was a good one.
And we got,
it was on Martin Luther King's Day.
Yeah, people had snowshoes. There were kids that were coming too. Our friend Habibi's kids, they're younger. He's got a Muslim family. They were carrying their flags for their family, hiking this 3 miles in snowshoes down the frozen river to the drill pad. And this is one of my, I don't know. I think I remember it so well because it was kind of one of my action movie moments that I didn't really even do on purpose. It just sort of turned into it. It was one of the actions. I left Spirit at home so she'd be safe because we were going to the drill pad, and I promised a lot of people that I would keep her safe. So I didn't take her on this particular adventure, and I had just scored some really sweet armor.
Yeah, she was rocking some badass warrior goddess armor.
I dressed it up with my armor. Had some Fox motorcycle racing armor. That's what it was. It was really sweet.
Yeah.
And then I put on my blue paint on my face, and I was going out as a medic. Oftentimes I would go out. I kind of multitask sometimes. If my dog wasn't with me, I was typically at least half an agitator, because it was safe for me to do so. And then the other half of me was medic, because I have a lot of medical skills, and I was kind of a backup for the backup.
It's needed.
It was very needed.
Yeah.
And I was just out there, and so one of the medics was dragging a snowmobile, and we made sleds to tow behind these snowmobiles, so in case someone got hurt and needed to be evac'd, we had a way to do that.
Immediate.
Yeah.
And so going out to the action, I tested out the sled.
Yeah.
Because, you kind of got to take one for the team. You got to take that risk sometimes to make sure that the people who are injured are going to be safe on the sled.
Yeah.
Make sure we don't injure them more on the way back to camp.
And if you happen to feel like a total badass while you're doing it, that's totally okay.
She looked like a badass. She was riding on it on one knee, just riding up to camp, yeah.
The snowmobile was going up the line of hikers, and we had handles, and so I'm checking the handles, make sure the handles are all secure. I'm holding on, crawling around, and making sure the snowshoes aren't flying off.
Yeah.
And we ride up to the front lines, and as soon as I get up to the front line, you had to climb up. It was easily 6 to 8 feet snowbanks. So when you're talking snowshoes, you're talking like expert level snowshoeing, step quick and light. Because you will sink even with snowshoes.
Yeah, step quick and light and stay on the like.
Yeah.
What's this part of your foot?
The ball.
The ball. Yeah. Staying on the ball of your foot while you're like treading through snow like that can be so fucking vital.
So we get up to the front line and there's barbed wire fence and everyone makes this line and singers start singing and people start talking. The primary interaction we had with DAPL and with police, because it was the most we found effective, was really just assaulting them with prayer and humanizing them.
Yeah.
And,
and
so with that note, because while you were out down the hill, that's where the woman that I had mentioned earlier, Irina, me and her and this woman named Brandolyn were on, like, there was a lot of yelling and there was a lot of this and that being said, but I genuinely saw the three of us almost, like, get a cop to join our side.
Yeah.
We made so many of them cry that day.
Yeah, we made a couple of them cry that day.
Yeah.
Like, crying behind their shields, like, holding them up, and, like, Brandolyn, the woman I talked about, she got one of the cops, and this was one of my favorite moments out there, to accept some cedar, like, to accept a branch of cedar, and she said, this will help you if you accept it. And they reached through this shield, this little tiny peak, and, like, reached in with his 2 fingers, pulled it back, accepted it, and then yelled, "Get back!" Boom! And then knocked her out. And then pushed her back. It was kind of fucked up. But at the same time, it was one of those moments where I was just like, he accepted it.
Yeah.
Before he told her to get back.
Yeah.
He accepted that piece of cedar and he put it in his pocket.
I think it was that fear, that discomfort of reaching out,
accepting
that, receiving it.
Holy shit, I'm actually a part
They
of this
shielded
person.
themselves from my smudge. From my sage smoke. There's a video of them doing this, actually, where I would come up with my abalone shell and I was fanning people and I was fanning the line of shields.
Yeah.
And some of the cops, I would fan them and they'd get their shield and they would go like, no, they would go like this and like tuck it up higher. So it would just like, and I'm like, I would look them in the eyes and I'd be like, you can't hide from my prayers. It's not how it works.
That's really a really great example of how sad it was and how terrified they were of prayer. They were genuinely terrified. So here's how you lighten it up. You get an agitator in that's a little bit of an asshole. And I have a tendency to be a little bit of a clown because they take everything so seriously.
How could you not?
And for me, I'm 5 feet tall, and granted, I looked like a badass and had my cool blue paint on.
Oh my god!
But I'm this tiny thing, right? I start tugging on this barbed wire fence, just testing it out. I used to put fences up. I used to be a ranch hand. So I'm like, your fence is kind of loose. You should have hired someone else to do it. I can redo it for you.
I can do it for you. Redo this fence for you.
And then, I tug on it, and then one guy would come up, and he'd, please don't touch that. And I'm like, why? Why not? Constantly tugging on it. And he's like, because it makes it loose. And then I grab it with both hands and lean all the way back. I'm like, really? I was like, and then, I drop it and be like, this is kind of loose. You should get someone to fix it.
She goes under it.
Oh.
This woman goes under it.
Well, okay, so I got it in my head for some reason that it was my goal, my mission, to put a snow angel on the other side of the fence on the drill pad to stand as a sentinel.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm putting a snow angel over there. And so I just kind of start creeping a little bit because under the barbed wire there was this good 3-foot space to where if you dig the snow out you're going to get a little muddy and you might snag a little bit on your back on the barbed wire, but enough space. And so I kind of start reaching and you test the waters. You really want to gauge your audience. Because they will break you. They're not afraid to use their sticks.
No.
So I'm gauging the audience. I just start creeping. I'm like, I'm just gonna, for a second, I just want to come put a snow angel over there and then it's all gonna be good. And then you see this big dude come up and he's looking all rough and I'm like, I know I'm very scary,
But I promise I will stand perfectly still when I get to the other side for about 5 seconds. And then I'll drop to the ground and make a snow angel, and it won't be that big of a deal. And so I'd start kind of, being a little bit snotty and intentionally emasculating the large men that were trying to intimidate. I'm like, okay, I know I'm big scary. So then they would start sending the women police over. And they sent over this one woman in particular, and at this point I am literally like halfway through the fence because I'm just creeping. You just start creeping, just like in baseball. You just start creeping while you're having discussions. Everyone behind me is like ready to just grab and yank.
I know. We were all just...
I could feel the tension behind me. They're like, just
scared.
Let me just...
And I just kept pushing. I'm like halfway through the fence, and this lady looks at me and she's like, "Don't do it." And I was like, "Don't worry, I'm just going to come over there for like 10 minutes. We'll have a discussion. I can give you a hug. I'm going to make a snow angel, and then I'll come back over, and it's all done. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. No big deal. No harm, no foul."
She's trying to blow up your pipeline. I'm just trying to go make a snow angel.
I'm just trying to make a snow angel here. So she looks at me, and she's like, gives me this scowl, and she's like, "If you come across that fence, you're not going back to the other side." And I looked at her, and I'm like, well, that's just a lie. Because no matter what happens, even if you decide to arrest me over there, it'll take 4 hours or it'll take 10 minutes. But no matter what, I promise you I will be right back here on the other side of this fence. And she just looks at me with this dark scowl, and like, my mom has a meaner mean face than you. And she's like, so does my mom. I'm like, well, she's not here. And then I look up at the guy, and she was standing back from the line. I started really bothering her, so they made her go to the other side of the line. They were doing that. If we were really getting to people, whoever was in command, who they always kept very secret, and no one would ever tell us who. But if you watch, you can pay attention.
Yeah.
So they made her go away from me to the other side because I was annoying her. And so then I look up at the guy that's standing right in front of me, and I just give him this look, and I'm like, I'm not even kidding. I just want to make a snow angel. Please, just let me make a snow angel. And he gives me this look that, like, makes me really believe that he's going to let me do it. And I'm like, so I keep crawling. I'm like, you're not going to grab me, are you? And he just goes, just embarrassed. It's like, just don't come too close, is what he said to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I'm not waiting for anything. I crawl over there. I start crawling. I'm almost all the way through, and this guy over here is like, "You get back on the other side." I'm like, he said I could do it. And so he just immediately like looks at that guy and then just doesn't say a word. And I get over there and I'm like making snow angels.
You're sitting under the fence, right there, just like.
So I got my snow angel in, and then everyone, helps pull me back, and then my friend Kayla, who's a native, said, "So, do you think they'd let a native girl do it?" And I looked at her, and I looked at him, and like,
my friend wants to do one too.
I didn't say a word. I just gave him this look of, prove us wrong. Like, it's your choice. Like you have this choice. You just let a white girl do it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So here's your thing.
Like a challenge.
And so then, and I wanted to stand in solidarity with her, so I went back under with her the second time because I didn't completely trust them. And in my head, I'm like, Kayla's not getting arrested for this. Yeah. I will. Yeah. Because if you're going to grab someone, you're going to grab the one that you gave permission to. And Kayla's also one of the most badass medics there. She doesn't get to go to jail. We need her too much.
We need her a lot.
To go to jail. And sure enough, though, they didn't move. They held the line, and me and Kayla both went under there, and we made our snow angels, and then we went back to the other side. And it was just like one of those, they just freaking made snow angels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, were they just human for like a second?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, human after all, huh? Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this question about cops. Do you have any respect for them?
Yeah. I respect that they're trying to feed their families. And they're just trying to do good by their family.
Which is what you're trying to do.
Is exactly what I'm trying to do. And that's how we humanized a lot of them out there, is that we, like when I was saying, trying to convince them to come to our side, we just talk to them on a human level of like, we'll feed you, we'll clothe you, we'll take care of you, we don't hate you, we are not your enemy, you're not our enemy, you know, you were just placed here.
Yeah.
In
Look
the,
at where you are.
like, you know, and you could easily, just as easily as you're standing on that side of the fence, you could cross it. And we had this one dude that, during that day that she was talking about, we called him Smiles. Because he looked like he was in his, like he looked younger. He looked like he was, like, maybe in his, like, 20s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he looked like he was still fresh. And we would make all these comments and jokes, and, like, we would just try to talk to them. They weren't allowed to talk to us back, but we would try to talk to them, and he just kept on smiling. We'd get these little tiny smirks out of him, and we'd be like, I see it! I see it! You can't hide that cute little smile! I see it! Like, and, like, we tried to, that was a huge part of that, like, actual day, is that we tried to get to them on the human level of, like, we know you're just trying to take care of your family, so are we, here and now, like.
Well, and I think, too, as far as respect goes, there's different kinds of police officers.
Mm-hmm.
People go into that career for different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go into that career because they have the need to be able to tell people what to do.
To dominate.
Like, that's a thing that is actually created through this societal trauma that we've created as a habit in our... there's also the other kind of cop that genuinely goes into the work because they want to protect the community, because they want to be a servant of the community.
Yeah, they want to serve, yes.
Absolutely. And so I respect the hearts of those people and the intentions of those people. Where my respect fails is where they lose their sight. Having all the water protectors up on that line, doing so in prayer and with nonviolence, is... I could literally watch a wave move through an entire line of police officers that were suddenly and abruptly and probably quite uncomfortably reminded of why they do what they do, because you could see them start questioning their actions.
Yep.
And it was really hard for them. And you could see it. Like, it made me feel bad. Yeah. Almost. I didn't stop because, you know, they weren't reacting. But I think in the first 2 months that I was there, in October and November, there were 17 police officers that turned in their badge.
In October, on that, like, I watched a cop turn in his badge when those women were being sprayed in the river. When that line of women were being sprayed, I watched the cop grab his badge on his chest, flip it inward. Yeah, flipped it inwards, that way it wasn't showing anymore, and walk away from the situation.
That's what I respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because in that day was crazy. That was literally just a group of, like, mostly women sitting in the river, getting freaking bear maced. Like, sprayed bear mace.
Yeah. They had 3 different levels of mace there.
Yeah, there was 3 different levels. And then the tear gas canisters, and then the sound cannons.
Well, and then at one point they were spraying fire retardant on people.
Yeah.
That's what that orange stuff was. It was leaving chemical burns. Like...
Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah. There were 45 women that got pregnant at Standing Rock, and not a single one of them kept their child. All miscarriages, including the principal of our school at Sacred Stone. She had a full-term stillborn daughter.
Yeah, because of the chemicals.
100% mortality.
Yeah. So far, not a single woman that was impregnated there can say that their baby is still, like...
That we've heard.
Yeah, that we've heard.
Myself included.
At this point in the podcast, what's really disturbing is the fact that these are unarmed American citizens that are doing nothing but occupying land. And the American government, more specifically Morton County, actually stood up in, like, an armed way against unarmed American civilians. I think that if this is a trend, it should be stopped now. I understand that police officers enforce the law, but if the law says to take up arms against your neighbor, then the law needs to be changed. Because nobody was harming anybody here, except for the police. Now, this is kind of when we took a little break from recording the podcast. We had a cup of coffee. We just kind of talked around a little bit, kind of lightened the mood because of the subject matter that we just covered was very heavy and dense stuff. But while we were sort of outside talking about stuff, Ray was telling me about how one of the prayer camps in Standing Rock, they had a giant fireplace, and it was considered like a sacred fireplace where you would go and you wouldn't have to worship any particular deity, you wouldn't have to pray to any particular life force or God or anything. You could just go there with your good intention and with your thought, with your well-being, and pray to the fireplace. And everybody who visited was encouraged to go and lend their prayers to this giant fireplace. And one of the things that really stuck with me when I was talking with Ray outside was they took coals from this fireplace and they took these coals in a very traditional way. Like, they kept the ember alive during transit, and they took this coal to all sorts of different protest camps all over America, all over the place. So if you've been to a protest camp in the past 8 months, then odds are that if there's a sacred fireplace there, that it was taken from the Standing Rock protest camp. And one really, really awesome thing that Ray was telling me about is how in this same fashion they had natives from the Hawaiian Islands and natives from the Standing Rock Reservation transport these hot embers. And they took these hot embers all the way to the volcano on the big island in Hawaii, and they added them into the giant cauldron of the earth. So even if all those protest fires are stomped out by the boot heel of the man, there's still going to be these coals of the sacred fire churning in the hearth beneath the earth forever. All right, well, let's get right back into the interview here.
Yeah, the weapons that they used out there were really, really weird.
They were psychological.
Honestly, we were a social experiment. We were a social experiment for how they would handle...
experiment in crowd control.
Yep, and how they would handle situations like that.
One of the weapons they used were the dapple lights.
Yeah, the dapple lights.
Have you heard of the dapple lights?
I have not.
Okay. Oh, I don't have a picture on this one. Dang it. So the dapple lights were 36 high-beam spotlights that ran along the entire ridge of the dapple drill pad site, from the road all the way down, and were pointed outward towards the camp. So we literally did not have darkness for 5 months. I think they started putting them up the first week of November.
So what you were saying is...
That was a psychological warfare.
Yes, exactly. So they were trying to deprive you guys of a night's sleep.
So
they did a good job. They
would also fly helicopters over our camps. That way the sound of the chopper, the whoop, 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 would be over you in the middle of the night and hopefully wake you up.
Yeah, they ran on pretty normal laps. And then the Predator drone.
Yeah.
They also...
Yeah, the Predator drone.
Hovering.
That dude, I wanted him. But I could never tell if it was Habibi's drone or if it was the drone, like their drone. But they had a lot of interesting psychological weapons. They also... Okay, before I say these words out loud, I was informed by this of a couple different people. Some of them I can trust, some of them I can't give my 100% trust. So I'm going to say this allegedly.
Hashtag allegedly.
Allegedly, there was a sound weapon that was called, and I guess it was the person that had told me that I trusted about this information was a military black ops agent from way back in the day that he knew what he was talking about. Yeah. He had mentioned that they were using a sound cannon called the Voice of God frequency. Pitch was, in a sense, the opposite of the sound cannons. The sound cannons were a low tone that would switch your, like, vertigo, that would switch around your, like, sense of balance, whereas the Voice of God frequency was a high-pitched frequency that is basically naked to the human ear, but not to the human brain and the way it stimulates the brain, and it was made to irritate and to cut patience and to, like, to make us more irritated with each other, divide and conquer, to divide and conquer us, and to make us fight each other so they didn't have to on the inside.
And it worked.
And it worked pretty well, honestly.
Yeah, we had to really work together and struggle a little bit.
There was days where the camp, like, consecutively was like, yeah, I think they're using that on us, because everybody in the camp would have a shitty day, and, like, except for, like, 5 pillars of light, like 5 people that would be like, fine.
I hate to smash your allegedly, but I will go ahead and say that it's not allegedly. It is actually, that was the large black vehicle that sat up on the hill.
He was talking about that. That's
that
what
had the big round thing that popped up. Those are LRODs.
Yeah.
That's how they project it. And they did have that on consistently. They were using that frequency, and they were also using frequencies to intentionally create fatigue and confusion. We were battling all of this medicinally, the same way you battle agitation when you live in a cannabis-friendly state. Using medicine and really working to have as much patience with each other as we could, but that was definitely a thing. You could always tell when they were using it intensely, because every single dog in camp was agitated.
Yeah, every single dog, too.
Including this one, who
is like a...
Yeah, totally.
So
very well behaved.
Sound weapons
were a thing.
Yeah.
Sound weapons.
And what was an interesting experiment that I got to throw, and it worked pretty well. The only place that was safe from that frequency was the earth lodges that were built into the sides of the mountains themselves, or the hills in that property. They were built into the earth. Like, only place.
Yeah.
I would step into my friend, her name was Rainbow, and she was living in it at the time. I'd literally go to her space to get out of that mindset, because it felt like it was everywhere. And it was just really interesting. Like this, we were a social experiment. We were an experiment.
All of the National Guard that showed up were all really, really young. It was very clear we were a field training exercise, and I believe when they removed Osheti, because they moved the big camp off the treaty land first. They came in with 1,600 Army National Guard.
Oh my God.
I think I counted, in one picture, 27 vehicles that were MRAPs and LRADs. Everyone had high-powered automatic out and at the ready. There was, we reached 5 stars. Are you familiar with Grand Theft Auto?
Yes.
Yeah,
we reached 5 stars. They had a tactical helicopter complete with a sniper leaning out, like, straight up. Just like... I saw that one. I'm like, I don't even. This is my life.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
I want to. Okay, so while we're on the subject of Ocheti Sakoan, I wanted to put some clarity into the world about a little bit of the subjects of how it went down, about how it got brought down. A lot of people have this conception, and it kind of did, in a sense that it all burned down. Now, it kind of did. We had a group of people that had green or blue wristbands? Blue wristbands that were designated to burn down certain sacred spaces, like the Inipi, where we have Sweat Lodge. Specifically those spaces. However, I personally was there that day, and I did see a cop kick fire coals into a teepee skin to light, and it lit that teepee on fire. But there's just a lot of really, that was such an interesting time, for sure. That was an interesting day when Ochete got brought down.
They didn't make it easy on themselves, man. That place was gumbo.
Yeah, they did not.
So much mud, and we really got, thank you, Unicorn Riot. They captured a video of some police officers face planting in mud, chasing a water protector back across the river. It was really one of the small
Yes, small victories.
Small
You got
victories.
to
Where
watch
you're
him
like,
because
come on,
we've
camera.
been running in the mud. Like, we've been running in the mud this
Practice
whole time,
makes perfect.
practicing, and it was just awesome because he, like, our friend Jared that was in the video, he just pranced away.
He didn't want to let the shovel go. He had found this shovel, and it was
Yeah.
a great shovel. And he was
Why
really
let the
determined
shovel
to rescue this shovel.
Dude, shovels were valuable.
Oh yeah, just any tool. I'm sure any tool's valuable. 'Cause
But,
you can do so much with it.
It was hard for Ochete to go down in a sense because that was the protest camp.
Yeah.
Sacred Stone, where we were at, that was the prayer camp.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Rosebud was a really neat sanctuary space that both camps could
Meet it with. Yeah, that very valid.
Cool. I want to close up with 2 questions. What is I asked you guys to think on it for a minute, but what would one statement that you would want to give to like the nice people listening at home, the civilians that you have, or other potential water protectors out there? What would you like to say to them, Ray?
I would like to say to them to not be afraid of, like, being that change, making a change, starting a change. It can be intimidating because change can be uncomfortable. And I understand that, but I don't know. I'm thinking about this perspective from when I went out to Standing Rock, I was only 18. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even begin to understand what I was even involving myself into. But I struggled a lot to build up the courage to do it, and then ever since I've made that decision to place myself within the change that I want to be with and be in, everything has thrown itself into my world that has made it easier for me to make that change and to actually be a part of that change. It just takes the first step. And it's the first step that's the hardest and the scariest. But if I had something to say to the people, is like, don't be afraid. And there are camps all across the country. In almost every state there is a protest camp for some reason, for some cause. And it's all about putting in the effort to looking into those things and just making that first step. And then you'll find yourself involved with the whole world. Not even with a whole world, with the whole world. That's how you get involved. That's how you evolve.
Yeah. That's how we collectively evolve. Thank you.
Oh.
How about you?
It's really difficult to wrap everything I want to say into phrase. So I'm actually, there's this, a prayer song that was taught to me by my friend Grace, and I think it really says everything that needs to be said. People gonna rise like the water, gonna hear her crying, hear the voice of a great-granddaughter singing Minnie Witchoni.
There was one baby born on Standing Rock land.
At Rosebud.
And in Rosebud, that baby's name is Minnie Witchoni.
And Minnie Witchoni is a prayer. It means water is life. And so if there's anything to take away from all of this, it is no matter where you are, what you believe, what your politics are, or what you think, you drink water